All right, so we're back. So the key is you've now found at least 5 to 10 pictures that represent images of where you're from, where you live now, where you'd like to visit. Now the work is choosing what you want to put in the foreground, middle ground, and background, and then arranging them to create balance and space. So I'm gonna use to do this, I'm gonna use a program called PhotoPea. I posted a link to this program in the chat, and I also posted it to your Google Classroom. So if you lose the link later, you can also bookmark it and add it to your bookmarks bar. So I have it already here, like boom, saved. So it's there. It's already there. And this is a free equivalent of Adobe Photoshop. So if you have Adobe Photoshop, you can use that, but not all of the school computers have it. Not all of the Chromebooks can't run it. So this does work on the Chromebooks. So when I create a new project, I'm going to just click. It's a slightly, there are a couple things that are different about this. One thing that's different is you're working in photographs, not in shapes. And the other thing is it does not have cloud storage. So you have to make sure that you save your file often to your desktop. So I'm going to pick a new file that's letter size. Right now it's like tall. So if you're creating a collage that's kind of like this, that's fine. But typically landscape, like this is a kind of tall one, but typically landscapes are horizontal. So for me personally, I'm going to turn this to horizontal by clicking this little switch button. And then I'm going to hit create. So this is the arrangement of the panels is pretty similar, except that the layers menu is to the right, and then the toolbars are here to your left. Now, the other thing that is, we're going to basically only be working with these first 3 or 4 tools, and maybe the eraser tool during this project. And yeah, so with that, I'm going to get into it. So in order to get my pictures onto this canvas, I need to place them. So to do that, I'm going to just go to File, Open and Place. And then I'll go to that folder that I put all of my pictures on. And I'm going to start to place them into the landscape. So when you place an image, it should pop up and have these boxes. And so now I can stretch them out. Just like before, if you want to keep them from being kind of like stretched or smushed, you want to hold the Shift key, and that will kind of lock it. So I'm going to use this as like my background photo, and then I'm going to put things, actually I'm going to use it as I'm going to use it as a background photo, and then I'll put things kind of in the middle here. And once I've placed it, I just hit enter, and there I go. And now I'm going to go back and do open and place and pick a picture from, let's do that New York City skyline picture and stretch it out. Now, this one, put kind of in the middle, and then I'll do the next one, open and place, and I want something that has like a foreground picture. So maybe none of these really have a good foreground. Let's do this one, open and place. So now I've got kind of like New Mexico. Honestly though, this picture has like dope stars. So I'm going to use the stars for the background, and then I'll put everything over it. So To play with the arrangement, just like the other program, you can kind of play with like what's behind everything else by moving these around. So you can click them and drag them and move them. So I'm going to move this bridge. I'm going to get rid of the bridge for now. I'll deal with that later. So now I've got kind of like this trippy stars thing in the background and this New York City skyline. And I just want to remove the sky from the skyline so that I'm left kind of with this cool background. So to do that, I'm going to use one of these selection tools. So there's a few options. You can use the object selection tool and kind of it analyzes whatever the picture is. And then I'm going to kind of draw a box around the buildings that I want to keep. Nope, that didn't work well. So don't do that one. But if you click and hold, you're going to, I like using this quick selection tool because now I can kind of, with my button, with my icon, I can drag, if it says rasterize, just hit OK. I can drag it across the sky and it will automatically, oh, I went too far. It will automatically detect, let me zoom in, the edges of the buildings. Kind of add, as long as I have this little plus sign there, it will add to the selection. I went too far. And I'll add this little section over here. I won't, I'll go back and I'll clean that up later. So now that I have the sky selected, I want to hide it. I could, with my eraser, I use my eraser tool here and just kind of go in and make my eraser bigger by clicking up here. And I could erase it. And now I'm left kind of like with a galaxy skyline. The only problem with doing it that way is it makes your edits permanent. So what I prefer to do is use what is called a layer mask. So right now I'll try this way and then hit and then unselect and kind of go in and zoom in. And now if I want to make this smaller, I can make this smaller and kind of go in and just erase the extra. But as I was saying, if you make a mistake and you kind of go like this, whoop, into the building, you have a history palette over here, so you can go back. But the other easy way to remove stuff is through masks. So you can go to layer, raster mask, and then hide selection, and that will delete everything as well. So that's really it. I feel like the eraser tool is probably going to be easier for this project, so I would recommend using the eraser tool to erase the background, at least for your first couple steps. So the goal for, I would say now for like the next 10 minutes is to kind of, I would start with the background and kind of work your way forward. So do kind of like, what is a nice sky picture? What is a nice mid-ground picture? And what is a nice foreground picture?